was German. And by the time I got through school, I could speak German pretty well. In fact, I still remember my first German lesson. Fritz gets zum ersten Mal noch die Schule, war sehr froh. Was eine neue Anzulang, because you had to learn it by rote in those days, you see. So I could speak pretty fluent German. Then, of course, when I was in the service in Germany, I shared a room with some roommates from Mississippi or Alabama, and they called me. They didn't know the difference between a Dutchman or a Deutschman, which I didn't like too well. So they called me Crouch. That was my nickname. Can you imagine that? So I didn't want to open my mouth. So I really learned to speak English. And when I came out of the service, I spoke English with a southern accent. Yeah. But the beautiful part of it, I was an MP, and you had these Sam Brownie belts and your gun belt and your holster and your boots, and these guys had German girlfriends that they wanted to write love letters, and they couldn't, but I could. So I had a standard letter, by the way. So I wrote letters, and but in turn they had to clean my letter, and that's all of it was shiny. So I had a good thing going. The American Army, when I was there, was newly integrated, and we had a barracks that was a school for German U-boat personnel, taken over by us, and it was beautiful. We had a dining hall with German waiters, and we had 4 men to a room. Well, when the American government integrated the Army, they had black soldiers, and these guys from Mississippi, Alabama, God knows from where, they would rather cut their head up than to be quartered in a room with black soldiers, which was fun. So, but the crowd got 3 black roommates. Well, that was all right with me. They were great guys. We had one of the cleanest and best rooms in the barracks. So, and I made out like a burglar. And then they also wanted to write letters to their loved ones at home, and they weren't always proficient in doing that. So I wrote English letters to their girlfriends or whatever down south, and I wrote German letters to their girls in Germany.
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
During the time that it was occupied by the Germans, what was the experience for you in primary school? I mean, did you attend? Because at one point you alluded going back to school.
No, primary school. The Germans right away wanted to put us into a form of Hitlerjugend for young boys. And then we went to high school, and they almost made it not voluntary, almost made it mandatory. And they also used this, they always were collecting something, clothing or money for the soldiers at the front. So they always asked us for volunteers. But our school was actually occupied by German soldiers. And we had to split half classes to another school, but Dutch education system is a little bit different. Maybe it was the same as here, I don't know, but they were very strict, and we had, even though we only went to school half days, we had so much homework that my mother wondered my ears not longer but I didn't do my homework. She would make sure I did. And then when I came out of the service, in a high school, they used this for, I was drafted during the war and sent to Germany, right across the German-Dutch border, and we were at a farm to help with all the men were gone. In Germany there were no more men, and we had to help with the harvest. Now, it wasn't exactly compulsory, but they promised that we would be well fed, so we went, and I worked on that farm with older men and what we called her, in fact we called her mother, or Mutti and Fati, because they were very kind, and we helped with the potato harvest. And we had boys and girls. The girls slept in the farm, and as boys we slept in the hayloft with a mattress filled with hay, and we had lots of food, and we had also lots of fun. And we kept it with, yes?
Oh, I was going to say, that actually leads to another question about resistant movements. I've heard that in the rural areas in the Netherlands, they used windmills and different colored shades on the windmills to give kind of clues to the Allies about where the
Well, I'm not
were?
familiar with that story, but this very well could be. Now, the V-1 shelters that were, we talked about, the V-1 launching sites, Germans were masters at camouflage. That looked like a farm. All painted on concrete with curtains and everything and a roof, but they were really bunkers. But the Germans were really, it became, because the Dutch underground got to be more resistant and more resistant. And I don't even want to tell you the story of what you saw happen to these poor people. And they also rounded up, when the war started, they rounded up every prominent person in Holland, like ministers and priests and doctors and newspaper reporters and politicians that were left behind. And they were called gijzelaars, so they were called hostages. And then every time Dutch committed, like blew up a railroad or shot a German officer, they would take 5 or 6 of these guys and to public square and shoot them. Very bad. I wasn't really that fond of Germans. Now, when I went to Germany for 2 years, I met a lot of people that were in the war, and they always said, well, we had no idea that this was so. I never actually met a guy that was a German after the war, and I had German friends because, you know, people are people. I had girlfriends, and they were, because there were no men in Germany. We had town for ourselves. Okay, I'll turn it over.
I want to give you this certificate of appreciation from the Marchfield Museum Foundation.
Good.
And says thank you for your presentation on occupied Holland in World War II.
I hope I wasn't disappointing.
Oh, you were great. You never know who's walked in here. He's a great speaker. Now, you know, this week I couldn't work at the museum yesterday because I was on a tour to the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles. And,
Careful. Not after all that.
there was quite a bit of, in the exhibits there was quite a bit about the situation in Holland. And of course, we all know about the diary of Anne Frank that took place in Holland. A sad thing happened that the Dutch government was so efficient before the war, and they had such wonderful records about all their citizens, that when the Germans went to round up all the Jews, well, those records were readily available and they could find them very quickly and very easily. It's a sad situation. The Dutch Nazis, well, it wasn't the only country where there were Nazis. They were in the United States also.